Hey everyone, George Christie here with Wine Industry Network. Welcome to another edition of the Win Educational Webinar Series. Now, today's session is titled The Wine E-commerce Landscape is Changing. Here's how to compete. And it's sponsored by Pix. Now, Pix is a technology company that's building an incredible platform that's going to make it easier for wineries to interact with the consumer, with the retailer, and everything in between. So very, very exciting piece of technology that's going to have a huge impact on our industry. Now, I'm probably even more excited about today's presenter. We've got Joe Fattorini. Joe is a TV personality and just a ball full of energy. I mean, he's just an incredible person. And I think you're going to be very excited about what Joe has to present. Now, before I hand it off to Joe, just as a reminder, as is always the case, we want to make sure our sessions are as interactive as possible. So we pre-recorded this with Joe, but he'll be in the chat room taking those questions on as they come in. So as those questions come to you, type them into the chat room and Joe's going to be there to take those on. Take advantage of that. All right, I think that's about it. I'm going to hand it off to Joe and let him take it from here. Joe, take it away.
Thank you very much indeed, George. That is a very kind and generous introduction. I'm Joe Fattorini, the Managing Director for Trade for Pix, the world's first wine discovery platform. And I'm not saying this right now. In fact, I recorded this some time ago. And so I'm lurking in the comments, ready to answer your questions. Sort of weird. I'm breaking the fourth wall a little bit here. So I'm going to talk 10 to the dozen because that's what I do. And you are going to ask me lots of questions at the bits that you don't get as I'm trundling through, hopefully. That's the way we'll go and do it. I'm going to carry on chatting. Slightly sort of strange way of doing this, but anyway, we'll see how we get on. Welcome to Pix. And I'm going to not only talk about Pix, actually I am going to talk about Pix, but more importantly, I'm going to talk about wine online because we've been building this discovery platform for not quite a year, around a year or so, perhaps a bit more. But we've learned a lot on the way. And the lessons that we've learned, I think, are really applicable to you. There are interesting insights into the way people buy wine that we've built into what we've created, but I think also have real application. Now, I very much hope you join us as Pix sort of grows and develops, and I'd love to have you along. But also, I hope this is really useful for you to see what we've learned as we've trundled along. This is Pix. In fact, it's probably out of date. In fact, I know it's out of date because we're growing with more people all the time. But we're a brilliant, fun bunch of people. There will be faces you will recognise in there. It is an extraordinary team that has come together. Brilliant people from all different corners, all different sort of backgrounds, technology, wine, business, so on. Coming together. This is my Troy McClure moment. You may recognise me from such TV programmes as The Wine Show. The Wine Show, which is currently in the United States on Sundance and Acorn TV, AMC. It's our third season. We used to be on Hulu. We may even still be on Hulu, I don't know. So season one, some of you may remember, was with Matthew Rhys from The Americans and Perry Mason, Matthew Good from Downton Abbey and The Crown. Then we're joined by James Purefoy, who's in the picture just above. He's in Happen Leonard and HBO's Rome, played Mark Antony, and then most recently by brilliant Dominic West, he was McNulty in The Wire, and he's also in The Affair, which is very saucy. So that's our third season. We have around 40 million viewers, something like that in the United States, about 80, 100 million worldwide, about 110 countries in various places. And actually the experience of being in that show, we had to sort of create something that had a real mass appeal that lots of people loved, but was still very resolutely, it sort of stacked up to critical appraisal, if you like, in the world of wine. That was really important to me when I came to Pix, that I wanted this to be something that lots of people could engage with, but was still had real wine values at the heart of it. We started with a very basic premise. And actually, I think this is for all of us. We know you make and sell fabulous wines. And we know there are people out there who want to buy them. How do you bring those two groups of people together? That's the fundamental question that we have to answer. And actually, it's quite hard for a whole variety of reasons, which we're going to go and look at. But it can be overcome. So we said we would create Pix. And the idea was it would help wine lovers find the wines they knew they loved. Actually, discovery really mattered to us. A long tail of really fascinating producers making wines that actually you'll love, you just don't know about yet. How do we connect people up there in sensible, interesting ways? And there were certain insights that we brought to the process. So, for instance, I've worked in lots of wine merchants. I'm a merchant. I'm not a tech guy at heart. And I started off in a little wine shop in the Yorkshire Dales, and I ended up at Berry Brothers and Rodd, oldest wine merchant in probably the world, certainly in the UK. One of my customers was the royal household, so I used to sell to Buckingham Palace and the Queen. There were certain insights that we'd had, and actually some of my most powerful ones came from a person I worked for in the middle, Bibendum. I sold, my team had 3 teams. We sold into London's hotels and restaurants. And we would do lots of quite interesting research, and we would find out things about people. And one of the things we found out was when people are choosing wine, I don't know if you've ever come across the business thinker Theodore Levitt, and he had this famous line: people don't go and they don't want to buy a 1/4-inch drill bit, they want to buy a 1/4-inch hole. What is the hole, if you like, to which a bottle of wine is the answer? And we did some research around this, need states, so job to be done, is some of the sort of terms that people use. What we found when I was at Bibendum, certainly this was true in the UK, I don't imagine the US is hugely different. The number one thing people were looking for was to relax. Wanted to put their feet up, kind of done in. It's been a long week. It's the middle of a long week. I want to go and take it easy. So that actually was the number one need state. It was the number one job to be done of a bottle of wine. It could be a really super smart bottle of wine, but its job was to go and help people to relax. Number 2, they needed a treat. They deserved a treat because you're worth it. It's sort of Jennifer Aniston, whatever. So that sense of this is going to go and give me, it's a bit of me time, that sort of notion. The third most important reason, and at this point we get to about 95% of all British consumers, was that they wanted to share something with their friends. There's an element of overlap here, but these were the primary reasons people wanting to buy. So by this point, most people are kind of covered by they're done in, they want a treat, and they want to share it with their pals. Often the things that we think about when people are buying wine, snobbery, finding themselves, exploring, collecting, that's probably 5% of need states in the bottle of wine. Now, they're really important need states. Don't get me wrong. It's really, really key. People want to go and buy those, and I respect them fully. But we needed to open the funnel a little bit. We'll come back to the funnel. We wanted to open the funnel in Pix to a much broader audience. And we had insights from other people. A search engine is fundamentally an advertising platform. That's kind of what it does. We looked at the world of advertising. This is an ad set up by a friend of mine, a guy called Dan and his team at Creature in London. They were Vignoble to Côte d'Rhône, commissioned them, and they asked them exactly that thing, kind of how do we open the funnel? And he did some research. And in his case, the research was walking up and down the office and asking his team, why did you last buy a bottle of wine? Number 1 reason he got back was because people were done in and they wanted to put their feet up in the middle of the week. Number 2, because they felt they deserved a bit of a treat. And number 3 was because they wanted to drink with their friends. And these were the executions they came up with. The one closest to my head, what does it say? Vin délicieux pour un night in with Le Telebox. People are done in. And in fact, in the execution, the woman's got her little work ID tag and the remote control for her satellite TV. It's middle of the week. That's why she's drinking it. That was the execution. On the far side, you've got across there the sort of reddish one. Bien agréable, avec a lovely bit of grub. It's refinement. It's enhancing a meal. It's a bit of a treat. You're having a midweek date night, you and your partner. And of course, in the middle, un superbe rouge for a night out with the girls, or for getting together with the girls. Coming together with a group of friends, sharing a bottle of wine. These were the real motivations, and we knew that the platform had to answer some of those motivations. In fact, this isn't totally new. This is one of my favourite ads. Don't read the bit at the bottom. It's horrendously dated and quite sexist. This comes from a guy called Howard Gossage, had an agency in San Francisco in the 1960s. He died in the sort of early 70s. And one of his clients was Paul Masson. And this was built around that notion of collectors, but he played with it. Wine collecting takes up less space than antique cars. is quieter than hi-fi and tastes better than stamps. There were various things where Gossage was a real kind of leader, and some of you may have come across this in the past. One of his things was that he knew you spoke to these fundamental human truths, rather than saying Paul Masson wines are made here in this way and taste of such and such, that actually you were speaking to deeper human needs and motivations. And the other part was that it was interactive. At the bottom of this ad, you could write to Paul Masson, and they would send you a starter kit. It wasn't the wine, it was the labels. Because suddenly you've got these labels. It's like free advertising floating around the house. So you would write in, and they would send you that sheaf of labels, and then you would go and start collecting them. Go and tick off the bottles of wine. In an era before the world of interactivity, Gossage was marketing that. So how did we apply it? Because you can apply it yourself in your own ways. These are lessons you can sort of bring to life in your own website. But what did we go and do? Well, we knew that we couldn't answer everything just with a search engine. So we have a state-of-the-art search engine, but we also have inspiring content, because we knew that content was a really important part of this. Actually, there's editorially impartial content. Now, that's a publication called The Drop, and it's publishing now. I recommend it to you warmly. Brilliant articles coming out every day, written entirely independent of my team and what we do. I can't even put you in touch. You can find your own way if you want to go and get in touch with them. We stay well apart. I'm on a different floor, if you like. But the articles are fascinating and fun and interesting, and they answer questions that a search engine really can't, if you like, and they engage people in a way that they can't. Also, they're shoppable. So when they recommend a wine, you click straight through and you can buy that wine there and then. Imagine if you could do that with other publications. Or quite like the sound of that. Click, oh right, I'll buy it. You can do that with The Drop today. Straight through, go and buy it. But we have a very clever search engine. Search engines have changed. I won't bore you because I probably don't really understand it myself in great detail. But they don't just help you find wines. They help you find the connections that make wines relevant in that sort of search. So here, I need something that's near me. Okay, the search engine can work out where you are to go and say, right, this is kind of near you. I want wines that go with this sort of food. Oh, right, well, I kind of know that these wines will go with that food. So it connects you up in that sort of way. And what does it look like? Kind of looks like this. This is our front page. It's evolving. It's changing. I want your permission for it not to be perfect when it comes out. I want it to come out rather than it to be not out, but not quite perfect. And it's fundamentally this way. There are 3 or 4 elements I would sort of show to you. I'm looking for. That's a single search bar for multiple, an infinite number of questions. Not just the wine, the occasion, the food match, situation, the problem. I'm looking for an answer to this wine problem. What wine does that answer? Go to the top, you'll see there's a couple of drop downs. We're testing those, we're playing around with them. I've always known that people don't just go for wines, they sometimes know they belong to wine tribes, if you like. I belong to the wine tribe adventurous drinker, which is totally different from the wine tribe cautious drinker, needs a recommendation, which is again different from the classical drinker. I like the wine in the world's classical regions. So we're going to go and explore those, have curated selections that answer that. Because I know if I go into a wine shop, I don't necessarily know what I want to buy. I kind of know it's going to be something a bit weird. Other people go and they don't know what they want to go and buy, but they know that it's going to have come with some pretty good scores and probably a critical recommendation. So we have, drop down below the search bar, our picks. We have skin in the game on these. We think these are amazing. Could be your wines. Actually, we really like these, so we're going to go and recommend them. And they then become part of that featured search. And then at the bottom, featured articles. These are the articles that have come through the drop, and you can go and have some fun reading and find out some interesting wines there. Because we know that wine's quite complicated, so we need to make it easy and find simple solutions. And wine is complicated in a way, yes, it's complicated because it comes from different places, but also in ways that it doesn't need to be for the consumer. The 3-tier system is kind of complicated. You'll never find us talking about disrupting that market. That market exists. It's there. There are brilliant people who work throughout it. All we want to do is to allow that market to exist and to work and to connect people up, connect the person who wants to sell the thing and the person who wants to buy the thing at that point of purchase. You might think this is complicated. Be careful what you wish for. The UK has a totally deregulated wine market. It looks like, when you have those experiments where they give spiders LSD and then they go and Charter Web. That's kind of what the UK wine market looks like. Now, in that market, you can argue all you like for all the different things that are in there, but they all add some sort of value. All I'm interested in doing is saying, you do that. You add all those bits in. I'm going to create something that connects the person who wants to sell it with the person who wants to buy it, and have ways where all those different people in between, distributors, importers, agents, producers, can jump in and can say, I'd quite like to be able to get closer to that customer. But we'll look at that in a little more detail. For us, the key thing was just to make it easy for everybody to join in. And actually really is easy. Go to Pix.wine/trade. You'll be able to find there. There's a link, I think, at the bottom of the page. And it's dead straightforward. All we ask you to do is to put in, I think it's 5 questions. First name, second name, family name, email address, web address, your your site's web address, and what platform do you use for your e-commerce? I think that's it. There may be one other. That's about it. Pretty straightforward. You've added those details, and once we got your platform, we got the ingestion, boom, you appear on Pix. You sit there. We don't take a cut of any of your transactions because the person buys from you. What happens is somebody finds your wine, they click on it, they complete the transaction with you. So you keep all the margin and you keep the customer relationship and data and so on. We don't charge a subscription. It's totally free to list on. And we don't charge a fee for any sort of sales or anything like that. And in fact, you're searchable and discoverable from day one as soon as you appear there. And you can enrich what you have on that platform because we invite you to go and add more information as a producer to your wine's product detail pages. So you can just go and put more and more bits and pieces in. And we are a broad church. We welcome everybody. So we're flattered. I mean, it's nice. Some of the biggest wine companies in the world have been very keen supporters and want Pix to succeed and have joined the platform. You'll recognise some of the names in there. But if it was just big names, it wouldn't work because we know that what really engages people is that very long tail. All those sort of interesting boutique wines, little discoveries that people never thought they would go and find. And so we've got lots of those too, and we welcome them, and we are creating ways for you to go and find your way into the hearts of customers. In fact, some of them are even in the UK. I brought across some of my friends and some tiny people. Just to give you an example of kind of how small, Flint Vineyard is a husband and wife team. That utterly lovely couple. Maybe I should include the kids because they do the harvest as well. In Norfolk. I didn't think you knew that they made wine in Norfolk. Sandringham, where the Queen has a Christmas. They make gorgeous wines. It's just the two of them. They kind of sell out, but they want to be able to engage with people online. Bin 2, the UK's finest wine shop. It's also pretty much actually one of its smallest. It's in Padstow in Cornwall. Tiny little shop, but amazing. Absolutely fabulous. Hedonism, the swankiest wine retailer, I would say, in sort of Europe. Kylie Minogue's wine producer. Yes, we'll welcome everybody because it's a broad church. Boterbox to Petrus. When Paul Maybury says that, he says Boterbox to Petrus, which sounds better. I can't say that because I'm European and I struggle with Petrus. Our job is to go and introduce you to wherever people are buying wine. In the first instance, it's going to be online because that's the first part of our platform we're launching. Then comes mobile, in-store. Then comes being in a restaurant. Because actually that's the point people really want advice when they're searching for it and people want those recommendations. And when they find those recommendations, they want to go and get it straight away from the person. So how are we different, if you like, from other platforms? I mean, you may sort of say, well, it sounds a bit like other platforms. What are, if you like, these two axes do it? We're a recommendation engine rather than a sales platform. So we just recommend stuff. We don't sell things. And when the sale happens, it happens with you, not via us, if you like. So that sale happens with you, the marginal stays with you, the customer relationship stays all with you. So in that sense, we sit kind of isolated because we're the only people for whom those two criteria, if you like, exist. That in itself would have been quite useful. We also wanted to build lots of other things in. We wanted to build in lots of tools which actually you may find really useful and insights that we brought with us. And they came from the weirdest places. This is, did you go to the Bay Area Death Fest Probably somebody watching did. This was a while back. There was a weird thing at the Bay Area Death Fest. This was some years ago, because nobody knew why. There were a somewhat obscure death metal band from Dunfermline in Scotland was amazingly well followed and attended. And I'll see if you can guess which one it was, because it turned out it was Party Cannon, the one that looks like some sort of kids' play zone. This is what's known as the von Restorff effect, named after Hedwig von Restorff, who was early 20th century. She was brilliant. She was a sort of psychological researcher. What she discovered was that we tend to be drawn to the thing that is not like the others when there's something that stands out. And of course, we can apply that in our own platform with things like badges. So this is we have a producer badge. Oh, right, okay, that's producer. Now, there could be other producers in there, but people click in there. There could be other routes to sale in there, but people click on it because it's the producer. Or this is nearest to me, or this is the person who'll deliver. We're going to experiment with some of those badges. I have a thing about the badges. I want to experiment with this. I think there's a group of people out there who'd buy any wine so long as it had an amazing wine dog. So I want to experiment with badges that have your wine dog on them. And I told this to somebody and they said I was completely mad. And so I made them search Wine Dog's book, of which I think there are about 10 of them now. And I said, there's a considerable constituency of people who are just really, really into wine dogs. And why not? You know what? If that's the way people want to go and discover their wines because they love the dogs, fill your boots. And there are some gorgeous wine dogs that are out there. So we'll go and have some fun and games with that. There are more serious things that we need to delve into as well than wine dogs. Money, the price. We know 1% increase in price can be up to a 20% increase in profitability. It is the single lever that, if you can move it, can have a massive effect on your overall profitability. And we know it is not easy. I'm talking to you. It's not easy at any point in the wine value chain to make money from wine. If only we could find ways where the price was a bit more. Now, we know where people get price wrong, and this was certainly from McKinsey. On the whole, they get it wrong in the wrong way. It's 80-90% of the time it's too low rather than too high. It's very rare that people charge too much for things. On the whole, they charge too little. The weirdest thing was, and we did this with some of our researchers, it turned out that even customers didn't like to go and have low prices. Customers themselves don't like doom scrolling through low prices, because often there are other things that they value that are obscured by a low price. So they find this low price. Well, do I trust them? How long will it take to get here? Do I have to buy an entire case? Do they actually really have it in stock? Are they going to do a bait and switch on me? Is it that vintage? Are they going to totally fleece me on shipping? That has real value for wine customers. So for us, it was really important that we built in ways where we said, here are all those value parameters that really matter for you. This is a fair price rather than the cheapest. Yes, absolutely. We'll tell you this person's got it, this is the best value price we can find, but this person has it a bit more, but they're close to you. This person actually has it, and it's the producer themselves, and they're going to send it to you direct. This person has free shipping. This person has this. This person will get it to you within a week. This person will get it to you within a day. Those things matter to people, and they allow us to have a much fairer reflection of the price that people should go and pay. And you know what? If it lifts it by 1% and somebody makes 20% more profit on that sale, that's absolutely perfect. Then everybody wins. The customer is happy because they got the thing they were looking for in the parameters that they wanted to buy it. You're happy because you get a fairer price for it. I can't promise it'll happen overnight, but it'll happen. There were other things that we sort of brought to us, and actually it turned out there were some lucky accidents. The sales funnel. You'll have come across this notion of the sales funnel, widen the sales funnel. We want to widen the sales funnel by having as many people as possible. We want to open that sales funnel, draw more people in who will come and buy wines from you. And we know that the sales funnel applies to wine online. So we know, absolutely, instead of awareness, people go and get to the site and so on, yada, yada, yada. Well, something about it is very linear. It just goes in a straight line down. What happens if you get to the bottom and it wasn't quite right? If at that purchase point they decide they don't want to do that? And some researchers at Google were really interested in this. One of the things that the Google researchers did is they explored this thing, and they looked at, you can do it yourself, the kind of heat maps of where people were clicking and what they were doing when they were in e-commerce platforms. And they ran some experiments. What they found was that rather than being linear, there's a thing called the messy middle. And they formulated a new model. The way people buy online, wine as much as anything else, sneakers, Kindles, whatever it is, they go in and they explore various options. What are these various options that I might go and buy? And as they home in, they evaluate those options. And they say, okay, right, things like, can I get it from the producer? Can I get it today? Can I have it delivered? Can I get free shipping? So on. If they can, they'll go and buy it. If those aren't quite right, they then want to loop back into evaluating other options. So rather than wanting to sort of drop out, they want to go back in and say, well, it's almost there, but it wasn't quite. Let's loop back in. And we want that. We want to keep people in the game. We don't want them to drop entirely out of the sales funnel, because if they're not going to buy from you, then they'll buy from you. So let's go and at least get them buying from somebody. And by happy accident, we think we've at least got a model that seems to hit home with the messy middle. There are actually three things I really want to highlight for you here. The bit at the top, the wine, that's yours. That belongs to you as a producer. You, within our business suite, have access to an editor, and you can put in photographs and you can put in extra detail and you can flesh out the content that's there. Because content, yes, it is brilliant articles. Content is also the stuff that people see and engage them at that point of purchase. And that can come from you. We have certain rules. You can't claim that it'll make you live longer or lose weight or anything like that. But you can go and put in great tasting notes that really enrich that experience, tell people things that they really need to know about the wine. So that's yours. A little bit further down, you then see there are 4 search results in orange. Get this direct from the producer. This one is the best value. This one is the closest to you. This one will deliver. Those are all free search results, always. I mean, they're all our search results are free at the moment because we haven't introduced our funding, but our revenue model. But those will always be free because that matters, that people are able to go and get those results. That's the evaluation stage. What if even now that's not quite right? I don't want people to drop out. I want to loop them back into exploring again. So go to the other side. These are wines that are similar to the ones that you've just looked at. Let's get you back in and find something you might like. Maybe a different variety. Okay, maybe somebody's a different vineyard, it could be. But let's get you going into this. Let's bring you back in till eventually we find the wine that's right for you. And that's what we go and do. Now, you're now saying, well, this guy's mad because he's got all this stuff and there's all these insights and there's all this work that's gone into this. How do they make any money? Because we don't charge a fee, we don't take a cut, we don't have a subscription. You'll have noticed when we had our little model that the thing that was closest to us was Google. That is our business model, is Google. It works exactly the same as Google. So it's free to list on, it's free to buy through, people buy from you. You can get a bit of a fast pass though. If you want to sit above the fold or right in front of people's results, keyword bidding. Okay. Now, when we say keywords, we mean actually slightly longer, sort of sentence strings, sort of ideas, and you bid for them. So you pay for the thing that you want to go and pay for, so that you have control over it. We're going to spend more time. We'll come back to you with how that works. You may never want to use this. That's absolutely fine. But we know many people will. And so we're going to be building the tools and the insights to help you to go and do that keyword bidding. And the keyword bidding allows you to go and sit in mobile, alongside a result, or in online search to go and have sponsored results that sit up there. And we know that those give people the chance to go and think, actually, no, that looks fascinating. I'll click through and I'll go and buy. And you can go and home that in not only in terms of great varieties. Actually, those are relatively poor keyword search terms. Much more interesting things are based around great wines for Italian food in my local neighborhood at particular times of the day. So we'll come back to that a little bit later on. That's actually one of a suite of tools you're going to go and have, certainly as a producer. We grew out of Emmetry. Emmetry's analytics platform, now Pix Analytics. You get that. That's totally for free. You can have that, so you get an analytics platform that sits in your business suite. So as well as the keyword bidding, you also have your editor, so you can go and edit what we say about what you say about your wine, how it appears, what the photographs are, and you get an insights tool as well to go and tell you all sorts of fascinating things about who buys your wine, when, where, why. You can work out those answers. Where do we come from? Where does all this come from? You know, we're wine people. even the text people, we're wine people. We love drinking wine. We enjoy it. It's in our DNA, and we bring that experience to this. We're not just tech people who kind of enjoy drinking wine occasionally. Many of us have had very long careers in wine and thoughtful careers. We've looked into it. We're also very committed to the fact that the greatest wine experiences we've had have been in the long tail. Yes, absolutely. Sometimes we enjoy big brands. I love every so often going and having big brands, but I also love going and having really weird, interesting, obscure, fun, new, whatever it is, mad experiences, finding interesting, curious people. I do that for a living when we go away and make the wine show, is to find interesting, curious bits. And I know the 80 million people who tell us about it, the people out there love that too. So we want this to be a broad church and to find ways so that in different weight divisions, in different classes, you can engage. And you know what? We want to display search results differently because we want to go and surface the real value that people are looking for, not just the price that matters to us. This is our sort of more senior team, if you like. This is who it is. Some really big names from wine and technology, an extraordinary group of people. I tell you, I am privileged every morning to wake up and realise I get to work with this gang and indeed the much wider team. There are people who are there. We are all very much open to engaging and chatting and talking with you. And we'd love you to join us. We really would. You can email me. I'm Joe@Pix.wine. But go to visit our site. Go to Pix.wine. If you go to the bottom, you can click through for trade, #/trade, and you can sign up. I'd love you to sign up today. And I'll show you what it looks like. I'll show you how you appear. It takes time. We're ingesting people bit by bit as they come into the engine. We're in our beta tests, certainly for the next 8, 10, 12 weeks or so, something like that. When we appear, it is not going to be all singing or dancing. Rome wasn't built in a day. We are still building quite ancient Rome at the moment. We're still fashioning it. It doesn't always work. We want your permission to fail forwards, to be flawsome. I'm coming up with all the neologisms today. But actually, when we get this right, we're going to create something that's very special. And it's not just a discovery platform. It's not just a search engine. It's a way of introducing people to the world of wine, engaging people in the world of wine, something that really matters to us, and I know to you too. I suspect, been furiously tapping away answering questions below. I think actually some of my team are in there as well. So thank you very much, team. I'll buy you a drink a bit later on. Keep the questions coming. When this sort of closes up and I go away, probably because I'm in Sweden, I'll go to bed. Drop us emails. Keep in touch. You know, we'd love to hear from you. This platform, many of the things that you've seen have come out of our conversations with people like you. And that will continue to happen. And indeed with the consumers, with our beta test consumers who said, you know what, this will help me to go and find the wines that I really love. And that's the way we roll. Thank you so much, George, the Win team. Thank you so much, Buffy, for having us along. It's been an absolute joy. I hope that at some point I'm able to come back and chat to you all again soon. All right, keep in touch. Joe from Pix.